Thank you so much, Carol. Hi, everybody. We have opening words this morning, which I would like to share with you while I read them. This is called "The Church Has Left the Building." And it seemed particularly appropriate. And John Gibbons tells me that Margaret Weiss is someone who may be known to some of you, which makes this even more special. The church is not a place, it is a people. The church is not only a steeple above the tree-lined streets and cars. Rather, it is a people proclaiming to the world that we are here for the work of healing and of justice. The church is not walls built stone upon stone, held together by mortar, but rather person linked with person, linked with person, all ages and genders and abilities, a community built on the foundation of reason, faith, and love. The church is not just a set of doors open on Sunday morning, but the commitment day after day and moment after moment of our hearts, creaking open the doors of welcome to the possibility of new experience and radical welcome. The church is not simply a building, a steeple, a pew. The church is the gathering together of all the people and experiences and fear and love and hope in our resilient hearts, gathering however we can to say to the world, welcome, come in, lay down your heartache and pick up hope and love. For the church is us, each and every one of us together, a beacon of hope to this world that so sorely needs it.
And now, stand as you are able, stand and stretch, and we join in the words of our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. So be it. Good morning again, everybody. It is not like this every Sunday, thank God, but nonetheless, it is good to be together in this way. And there are, it seems, 151 households present. I see Boglarka Barabash joining us from Dublin. There are other newcomers. If you are new, you may want to go to our website at uubedford.org, and there is a tab for newcomers and a way to stay in touch with this congregation. And if you wish to join our email lists, our announcement list, or our parish business list. There are a number of things that you may want to look at the website about, because we have so many public Zoom meetings coming up, and there have been some changes in the schedules. So you might look on our website for an updated listing and links to all of that sort of stuff. Let's see, there's even this afternoon for newcomers and new members, there is an open house at the parsonage, and people will get to peek into our refrigerator and our medicine cabinet and stuff like that. So, you know, it's a brave new world. A couple of things I want to point out while we're at it. I asked a number of you to I ask all of you to send me the names of frontline healthcare providers, and we'll do this routinely as this goes along, but I want to share some of the names, and I know that this is an incomplete list, but we keep in our hearts and appreciation so many people who are risking themselves and doing work for the common good. And among them are many nurses, including Carol Kruzmark, Michaela, Tiffany, Anita Raj, Dorothy Johnson, Mary Levenstein, Sarah Watson, Sarah Thompson, Sarah Dodd. Ann Kiesling is a researcher, and she has personally developed a COVID-19 test procedure. And she, along with her husband, Steve Hagan, have been shuttling samples between her laboratory and local hospitals. We also know of physicians Karen Libby and John Harris. Tina Nappy does work with domestic violence survivors and situations, and that too is a source of grave concern at this time. Other people you might not think of as being on the front lines include grocery workers. How about Mike Bozanowski and Rich Suval, who is ordinarily a dentist at the VA, but he's now doing grocery work at Wegmans. And then people on our CERT teams, our community emergency response teams, like Sarah Dorr and Dan Smythe and others. So we'll continue to add to that list, and you can email me for other names that we should be holding up as we go along. This morning's service, we especially welcome Mary Margaret Earl. Mary Margaret is the executive director of the UU, Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry. The urban ministry has a long and storied history, going back to the 1830s when the Reverend Joseph Tuckerman walked the streets of Boston, seeing that people who needed shoes got shoes and needed help. At that time, and well into the 20th century, the urban ministry was referred to by the fusty old Bostonian name of the Benevolent Fraternity of Unitarian Churches. And it was a consolidation, it was a coalition, it remains a coalition of 46 congregations, ourselves included, that support their work, which at one time was primarily charitable, but has transformed into justice-making activity in much more recent years. Their slogan is uniting communities and transforming lives. And we are part of that community that is being united by the urban ministry today. I have personal connections with the urban ministry. My first job after college was at a shelter care program called Interfaith. And Interfaith was a program of what we then called the Ben Frat, the Benevolent Fraternity. And it worked with young girls who needed a place to stay while they were in difficulties with their families and other situations. In any case, it's great to have Mary Margaret, and we'll hear from her more soon. What else do I need to let you know about? Oh, I think that's pretty much enough. I think with no further ado, it's time for some comfort food in the form of our former parish minister, Megan Lynes.
Hi, I'm Petra, and this is Pete, the baby possum, and I'm here with Jessie. And Jessie, hey, excuse me, Jessie? Jessie! Have you got a sock that you're playing with? I see that sock. Did you take it off because you were washing your hands and feet because of the coronavirus? Ugh, that stuff is so nasty. I wash my hands like this. With the soap and the water and the hot water, and I wash, and then I'm pretty clean. Are you getting clean? You are? You washed a lot? You took off your socks so you could wash your feet. You know, you were probably doing what I do. I have 4 hands. Well, really, 2 are hands and 2 are feet, but I can't tell which one. They seem all dirty to me. I wash them a lot. I wash all 4. You too? It's good to stay clean. Yeah. Ow! Oh, meow. Meow to you too. Ow! We talk like cats sometimes, you and me. Yeah. Well, it's a good day. Stay clean and healthy with all that washing. Right, Jessie? Yeah. So, that's it. From Petra and Pete. Talk to you next time. Stay healthy out there.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Petra and Pete. And now I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Doherty from our lay pastoral care team.
Hi there, I'm Nancy Doherty, as he said, and I would invite anyone to put your hand up to say you'd like to light a candle of joy or concern. And what, is there an icon at the bottom of the screen? I'm not sure how.
That's right, Nancy. There, if you go to the participants icon at the bottom of your screen and click on it, something should pop up on the right-hand side where you have a number of options along the bottom of the participants, and one is raise hand. And so if you want to raise your hand, you can go ahead and do that to be in line for a candle of joy or sorrow.
Thank you for all of those. I will light one more virtual candle for all those joys and concerns that remain in our hearts. And it was lovely to see my granddaughter there. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have our impact moment with Maureen Riccici.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Maureen Riccici. For a little over 30 years, First Parish has been my church home. When I consider all the different paths one can take in life, the various forks in the road, I am grateful that I found First Parish. And a shout out thank you to Sarah Dora for inviting me here so many years ago. Frank and I signed the membership book within a year. Our 3 sons grew up here, participating in RE classes, coming of age, and OWL. You all helped us be better parents. Over the past 30 years, this community has helped me make meaning in my life. How? Oh, in so many ways. Friendships forged and deepened, all manner of Sunday worship. Opportunities for engagement and service, sometimes at the edge of my comfort zone. My perspectives broadened in so many issues. Help and support during difficult times. Committee work, committee work, committee work. Mind and heart challenging sermons. Fun, laughter, tears and fears. Spiritual growth and connection. So much learning from so many of you. This beloved place and you all continue to help me make meaning and provide purpose. When I decided to retire a few years ago, I had the time and the energy to work with the Sanctuary Program, something that has changed me profoundly. My work here with the Dying Well group led me to train as an end-of-life doula last year. When I considered how and where I wanted to practice this doula work, I realized I wanted to do it here with you. Bottom line, what I love most about this community and all my connections here over the year is this. My heart has been touched and enlarged over and over and over again. And I need that. So in this uncertain COVID-19 time with all its possible consequences and ramifications, with the world as we've known it so changed, I am acutely aware that my family and loved ones, my faith in the power of love and kindness and hope, and this community are my anchors. This community tells me loud and clear that I am not alone, that we are in this together, that we will get through this. And I need this now and always. In the recent movie, It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, there's a scene where Fred Rogers, yes, the Mr. Rogers, urges his struggling new journalist friend to close his eyes and think of all the people in his life who have, quote, loved him into being, end quote. I was quite taken with this phrase. So I took Mr. Rogers' suggestion and did this exercise early in the morning on my recent birthday. Actually, a lovely way to celebrate a birthday. Images of my parents, my siblings, Frank, Brian, Daniel, and Adam, and our large extended family, friends, teachers, and colleagues from past and present floated into my consciousness. And First Parish Bedford was there. You were so very there. I'm grateful for this chance to let you know, and thank you. Let's keep doing this for one another, loving, being kind and present, supportive and providing what we can. We need to be here for each other, now, maybe more than ever. As our annual giving drive approaches, I urge you to pledge as generously as you can for the good work, the so very good work of this church. We need this place and everyone in it. Thanks for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for all you give to our community. Okay, now for an interlude.
Send her a text. Show me.
So beautiful to have live music. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. And now for a brief meditation.
Let's take a moment to settle in to our bodies and our present. Take a breath. Notice the surface you are sitting on or standing on. Notice where you are in your building in your neighborhood in your town in your state, zooming out, seeing yourself present in this time and place. Now we're going to go back. Imagine back through generations, back to your parents' generation, your grandparents' generation, your great-grandparents' generation. Maybe you know where those people lived. Maybe you knew them. Back to your great-grandparents' generation, to the people you never met but who are part of you. And back even again. Back and back all through history. You are made of people who survived. You are made of people who made it through the hard times, made it through plagues, made it through pandemics, made it through droughts, made it through famine, made it through war. Your people migrated, your people found food, your people wove community, your people survived long enough to create new life that created new life that created new life that created you. And here you are, a product of all that love and resilience and survival. Can you feel it? In your DNA, in your cells, in your blood, in your bones? There is a chant I was taught by a Jewish cantor named Vera Brookhuizen. Sometimes we chant it when we go on our Jericho walks out at the ICE office. It goes, "We do not come here alone. We carry our people in our bones. We do not come here alone. If you listen, you can hear them in our souls." Another breath. Beloveds, we are not alone. Even if you are self-isolating by yourself in a room or a building, you are not alone. For none of us come here alone. We carry our people in our bones. We carry their histories. We carry their strength. We are a miracle. And here we are. We do not come here alone. We carry our people in our bones. We do not come here alone. If you listen, you can hear them in our souls. You, here, with the fear and the hope, with the grief and the love, with the feeling of limitation and the feeling of being free, here in the mix with all of it, but never, never alone.
And now I will turn it back over to John to introduce our speaker.
I just want to say one other thing about the urban ministry. I mentioned that it was my first job after college when I worked for Interfaith. But not only did I work for Interfaith, but Sue Baldoff, who later became my wife, worked for Interfaith. And it was there that Sue and I met. So if your work, Mary Margaret, is uniting communities and transforming lives, I can testify to that work. And so again, Mary Margaret, especially at this tender, very bizarre time, it is reassuring to have you here, and we're thankful that you're with us today. Over to you.
Good morning. I've now been unmuted. Good morning, John. Nice to see you. Good morning, Bedford in this interesting moment in time, and thank you for welcoming me into a space that makes Zoom feel like sacred space. My first time delivering a message in this way, and I'm just very honored and happy to be here with you all this morning. As John mentioned, I work with John on a leadership team of an interfaith organization that works for justice in Boston, and it's been a joy to get to know him in that context. And that is not the only connection that Bedford and the UU Urban Ministry have. Some of our greatest champions now worship in Bedford, Bob and Ann Schmaltz. I don't know if they're on this morning, but Bob was a longtime board member of the Urban Ministry, and Anne has a strong commitment to the transformation of our historic meeting house where her ancestors worshiped in Roxbury, and we're transforming it into a space to really serve the Roxbury community and bring arts and humanities to Roxbury. I also wanted to, this morning, just take a moment to thank Bedford for the ways that you do support the work of the Urban Ministry. Every year, one of my favorite evenings is coming out to meet with Sean Hennigan and the crew from the Social Responsibility Council, which funds our workforce program for domestic violence survivors. And so I'm grateful. I'd like to say hello to that group of folks and to thank them and thank Bedford for your support. So John gave a little bit of the history of the Unitarian Universalist Ministry. We're one of the nation's oldest surviving nonprofits. And over the course of our 190 years, we've done many different things, created elder housing, created an Asian appropriate food pantry, done criminal justice reform. And there are three basic things that the Urban Ministry does today. We provide services and shelter to the survivors of domestic violence. We provide academic enrichment for high school students from Boston. And we also, again, bring the arts and humanities to Roxbury. And we seek to connect folks across community and try to address racism and injustice and see relationships as a catalyst to making those changes. Our location is in John Eliot Square in Roxbury. I don't know if folks have been to that location. I don't know if there are people who visited us. And if you haven't been in the future, post-pandemic, I'd love to see you come and visit us. We have a deeply historic space in the heart of Roxbury. Of course, we are not able to be there now. The staff has all been adjusting to remote work. We are supporting our program participants, our survivors, and our young people through remote learning. We're providing material support. We're doing daily outreach. Our domestic violence shelter is congregate shelter, and so for this time, we have found separate housing for each family to keep them safe and healthy during this time. I know that this type of adjustment is truly a shared adjustment for all of us. We have all been touched by this time. We're all adjusting in so many ways. It was such an honor to hear people share the ways that this time is impacting you, your families, your loved ones, your hearts. It's affecting businesses, jobs. There's just so many ways that we are all impacted. And every day as we keep hearing news about what's happening, we keep trying to prepare for what might be ahead. And the horizon is still unclear. And we're also assessing how well prepared we were for this crisis up to this point. The question of preparation is top of mind for Americans. Should we have been better prepared with medical equipment, face masks and respirators? Should we have had better systems for seeing a pandemic? Should we have been better equipped for testing? These are questions that are going to be analyzed for years to come, and we hope that we will learn from the shortcomings we find and be better prepared for the next thing. There are also questions that we ask ourselves in our personal spheres. How well prepared were we for this? How do we prepare for hard times, tragedies, disasters? Some of us are by nature planners and some not. There's common sense preparation that each of us might value in this moment, saving money in good times to get by in hard times, having batteries in the closet in case of a storm, having food in the cupboard in the event of heavy snow. Right now in our country, there is darker preparation that we hear about. people who are preparing to see the worst and see the worst in one another. We've heard the stories of fights in grocery stores over basic items, images of hoarding for profit. A recent New York Times article reported a surge in gun and ammunition sales, with survival gear flying off the shelves in California, New York, Washington State, Ohio. There was a photo on Twitter that showed lines around the block of a New York or of a Los Angeles gun shop. More locks, more cameras, defense, hoarding, and fear. Shutting out the community around us is one way to prepare. And there's another way, building community around us. Building a community that sustains us whatever comes our way. Building relationships in our faith communities, our workplaces, our neighborhoods, and across neighborhoods. Right now, in this pandemic, we are witnessing our absolute interdependence in a way that couldn't be plainer. It isn't theoretical or poetical, it's fact. And seeing that we are all connected is also an opportunity to embrace that connection, to embrace the fact that we need one another. Despite our need to practice social distancing right now, we also need to rely on one another to survive whatever is ahead. I wanted to share one story about what my experience of this mutual reliance right at the outset of, at the very beginning of this pandemic, or when it was impacting us. One of my dear neighbors in the village where I live shared that she had not beat the toilet paper rush, and when she went to the store, the shelves were bare. And sort of on a lark, I gift wrapped some rolls of toilet paper and I brought it down to her door to leave it at her door. And she wasn't expecting it. And what I hadn't expected is when she opened the door that she had a gift for me, and it was a gift of extra hand sanitizer. And it was a COVID-19 version of Stone Soup. So the story of Stone Soup, which I'm sure most or all of us know, is a story in which a stranger comes to this fearful village and helps everyone see that each of them has something to contribute that can help them all survive. I've seen on the Roxbury e-News listserv where I work, another person raise her hand and say to everybody, I have extra toilet paper. I saw a nurse who worked in a hospital put out a call to anyone have an extra face mask, and somebody respond that yes, they went through their shed and their toolbox and they found a few masks. There's a reason why the story of Stone Soup is beloved and lasts, because it contains an essential truth that we have what we need when we come together and trust and share. In some faith traditions, people primarily prepare for what's beyond this world. Our Unitarian Universalist faith calls us to prepare for life in this one. This is what binds us, not a creed or a common theology. It's a belief in justice and in community. It's a commitment that in the face of flood or famine or pandemic, that we believe in one another. We have an opportunity to keep building the kind of world that we want to walk back out into when this abates, one that testifies in the most awesome way that we are each part of the human community, one cell in the body of humanity. That is the surest way to prepare for the infinite surprises and challenges that will arise ahead. When this pandemic is done, we might stock our shelves with face masks, but the next challenge won't necessarily be for face masks. We might collect bottles of hand sanitizer, but the challenge that comes tomorrow may not require that. We might have shovels and salt, batteries and rice, a full tank of gas and some dollars in the bank, all good. But what will ready us for whatever comes is us, our bonds, our relationships, our community, our network of mutuality, the work that we're doing right here this morning and sharing. No matter what remains on the grocery store shelves today, we can still prepare for tomorrow by being here with one another this morning and by the calls that we make to our neighbors and loved ones this afternoon. May we be practical and prepare, and may we also keep building the world that will sustain all of us no matter what's ahead. Amen, and blessed be.
Amen.
So I know this is taking more time than sometimes we take for services, but you can think of this next part as sort of a worship coffee hour mashup, because we're going to take a moment to share our stories of the kind of stone soup we're seeing in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our families, the ways we're seeing this interdependence show up that Mary Margaret spoke about so beautifully. So I am going to sort you into breakout rooms. And if you need a bio break, you can also take this opportunity to use the bathroom, grab a drink of water, a cup of coffee, take care of your bodies. But we hope you will spend just a few moments together sharing what you're seeing in your lives. And we'll take about 12 minutes to do that.
I was reminded of many things, and among the things I've been reminded of are the really familiar but prescient words of Martin Luther King, who spoke of, in a real sense, all life is interrelated. All are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be, and you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. And there's almost been a theme to my preaching since I returned from sabbatical in January, and that is making visible the invisible. And this pandemic has made visible some significant deficiencies that we have as a society. And when you speak of relationship building as a form of preparedness, I think that that's exactly what I've been thinking about as well. One other thing that caught my attention this last week was something in the New York Times, an op-ed writer named Farhad Manjoo, and he was talking about the shortage of toilet paper and the shortage of 75-cent face masks. And he said this: hospitals began to run out of masks for the same reason that supermarkets ran out of toilet paper, because they're just-in-time supply chains, which call for holding little inventory, are built to optimize efficiency, not resiliency. Efficiency, not resiliency. And I think that one of the things that we're seeing is the need to build resiliency. And just by the way, when he says that our society is currently worshiping at the altar of efficiency, efficiency is one of the mainstays of white supremacy culture. And I think it's being called into question by this crisis in ways that I hope we can learn from. Mary Margaret, in our phone conversation earlier this week, I said that it sometimes has been difficult for the many suburban congregations to find commonality with the work of the urban ministry. It sometimes has been a challenge to figure out how we best work together in our common lot. Do you want to reflect on that, how you see the relationship among the constituent members of the urban ministry, and how we may best make common cause with Roxbury and the life of Greater Boston?
Yeah, I think, so at the urban ministry, we every day as a staff and volunteers and the board think a lot about how we can bring people together and live into that concept of bridging communities, because it can be complicated. And what we don't want to do, as you mentioned in your remarks earlier, John, is we're not seeking to have a charity in Roxbury where people from the suburb come in with sort of that frame of mind. And there's a quote on the wall as soon as you walk into the urban ministry that says, if you have come here to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. And that is by the Aboriginal activist Lila Watson. And our view is to remember that to be very thoughtful about how we bring people together, to really work at building strong relationships in both spheres so that we can thoughtfully bring people together and bring people and engage people from the suburbs in the work that we do in Roxbury in a way that's really wanted and welcomed by some of the folks in Roxbury. So just one example is that we really encourage, we plan different visits to cultural and business institutions in Roxbury, and we really encourage Unitarian Universalists and our member congregations to come and be part of that with us. And we had reached out to some cultural institution leaders and others, business people in Roxbury, and asked if they wanted this, and they did. And so, for example, there's a pop-up market called Black Market, play on words, in Roxbury and Nubian Square, and we've a couple of years in a row encouraged Unitarian Universalists to come and do their holiday shopping at Black Market. One, it helps kind of overcome the cultural racism that we can have in the suburbs about what Roxbury really is like. It's a place of enormous cultural and historic richness and resilience. And it also helps address, to our little point, the little bit we can, address the racial wealth gap that exists in Boston and Greater Boston by encouraging Unitarian Universalists to invest their dollars in the businesses that are in Roxbury, in the museums, in the bookstore, in the eateries, all the wonderful places that there are to visit. So we really encourage Unitarian Universalists to take advantage of those opportunities. And we also train the youth in our after-school program to be tour guides, to lead historic walking tours of the neighborhood. And people can come and take a tour of John Eliot Square or tour Nubian Square and learn more about just all the resources and wonderful things that there are on Roxbury. So that's really part of how we try to bring people together in a way that feels really respectful and mutual.
Before I close out this conversation, Mary Margaret, I want to acknowledge that you have a great team that you work with, but I also want to say that you are the very best thing that has happened to the urban ministry in a long, long time. And it takes so much work to accomplish even the littlest of things. And you mentioned that you were finding places that were safe for people in congregate living to move to. And that is an enormous heavy lift. And you have borne that, and we really appreciate the work that you have done. And we look forward to deepening our relationship with you and with the urban ministry as we go forward. Anything else you want to say before we close it out?
I just want to underscore your emphasis on the wonderful team at the urban ministry. Yeah, because they're amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. When in doubt, you call for an offering. And so that's what I'm about to do. And our folks have been working at simplifying and clarifying the online giving opportunities, and an increasing number of you have been paying attention to this. Please go to our website, look for the Give Plus button, the Donate button, and figure it out, because it's really important that we maintain the fiscal strength of First Parish at this time of crisis. And so freely we've received, freely give. Our offering will now gratefully be received.
Brad, you're up.
Actually, I'm not up for the offering today. As you've noticed, we have Carol Eppel and Liz Connors playing. And so Liz Connors is up, followed by Carol Eppel, and they're going to play the tune to One More Step.
Great, thank you.
Very good.
One. So now we're going to do the, can you hear me? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the hymn. As everyone has figured out, Zoom is not the perfect music program. But one of the things that I have come to the conclusion is it's not about being perfect, it's about being together. And so what we're going to do is Annie's going to open up everyone's mic, and the lyrics for the hymn are going to appear on your screen. And for those who are old enough to know, I'm going to be like Lawrence Welk, and I'm going to give a count off, and then we're all going to sing together. And it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to be cacophonous, but you're going to hear your voice and everyone else's voice because we'll be together as a community. One of the good things about Zoom while we're doing this is you can see people's faces rather than standing side by side looking forward. So look at people's faces and sing and just enjoy being together. So here we go, everyone. We're going to sing one more step. 1, 2, sing.
One more step we will take. One more step. For there is peace for us and everyone. Take one step.
It feels actually quite right for us to celebrate our being together as members of one strong body. And so we have the opportunity now to welcome these members. And as Annie said, Rebecca Green-Neal is our clerk, and Nina Wampler and Marcia Morgan are representing our membership committee. And since we last had a new member ceremony, these are the people who have signed our membership book. Susan Barnaby, Charlie Brown, Richard Golombeski, Ellen Shiner, Bonnie Kate Trigg, Dave Trigg, and also Sam Van Newland. It is our privilege to have you among us, and I will give you an IOU for a flaming chalice pin and maybe some other kind of swag that we can come up with to commemorate this event. I always tell people that when you get a flaming chalice pin, you're to put it on some article of clothing that you actually wear, and that it does not go into your sock drawer or into that bowl of junk that's on your kitchen counter. So we look forward to seeing you wearing your flaming chalice pins in the near future. And now I'm going to turn this over to Rebecca.
And I wanted to say I unmuted the folks I could find by searching in the participants. Rebecca keeps ending up muted. I don't know why. My goodness, I can't unmute her. So if any of the folks who are joining in the new members today want to just wave and say hello, you might pop up on our screen.
I'm unmuted now. Thank you.
Great. Deb, well, maybe we'll do that at the end. At the end, we'll have a moment where we stop the screen sharing and let all the new members wave and say hello.
Right. I want to let Rebecca go ahead with the ceremony first.
Friends, you have joined a free church, a church with a proud heritage. No creed will bind your heart or mind. Live and speak as freely as you are able, with clarity, charity, integrity, and courage.
Pants or no pants, stand and we'll say our covenant. We welcome you into our liberal religious community. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Let us worship together in such affection that our differences strengthen one another. So be it.
There's you.
There's Susan Barnaby. There's Ellen Shiner.
And do we have the Triggs?
Triggs are there someplace.
I think so.
Many
Thank you, new members.
There you go.
All right. Now I think we have some closing words.
Yep, ready to close this out.
We should give a round of applause too to all of our new members. Give it up. One more opportunity to stand and we'll speak our closing words in unison. This from the author John O'Donohue. Together. This is the time to be slow. Lie low to the wall until the bitter weather passes. Try as best you can not to let the wire brush of doubt scrape from your heart all sense of yourself and your hesitant light. If you remain generous, time will come good, and you will find your feet again on fresh pastures of promise, where the air will be kind and blushed with beginning. We look forward to the fulfillment of that. May it be so. Good to be together, everyone. Amen and blessed be.
Thank you. And now for a postlude.
What's gonna happen?